It's 5 minutes past midday. I hope we are all well. I'd like to appreciate you on my own behalf and on behalf of Minet for joining us for today's webinar, where we'll be talking about understanding children's emotions or understanding children's mental health. Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce my co-moderator today, Helen Babazi. I know she'll say something. We have two panelists today who I will introduce very shortly. But for now, just to give you a background, Minet, Uganda Insurance Brokers, runs webinars every month under our employee assistance program. And we've discussed a number of things in the last month. We've talked about work-life balance. We've talked about burnout. Today, we'll be talking about understanding children's emotions. We all know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And in the last couple of months, in the last couple of years, maybe 3 years, we've talked about mental health, but we have mainly talked about mental health for ourselves. And we have not talked about mental health for our children. And today, that is what we are discussing today. But I'd like to immediately hand over to Helen to give us a background of this and to tell us exactly what Minet does. And then I'll introduce our panelists, and then we'll be good to go. Helen, over to you. Helen, you're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. Sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry about that. We would like to welcome you to our May webinar. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We do not take it for granted that you spare your time to come and join and make time to register and respond to us. We are responding to a call in the world, and we are here because our vision is to secure Africa's future as Minet. On behalf of our CEO, Mr. Nambafo Edward, would like to thank him for the opportunity for allowing us present this to you every month. It's free of charge to the public. As you know, we invite all of you into this space. But most importantly, we have a solution that we call Employee Assistance Program that we use to service all corporate organizations to ensure that all our work people, all our employees are well taken care of. You all know about mental wellness. That is something that is spoken about globally, that is taking over. But we also know that there are several things that are causing, that are a predisposition to this mental wellness. Part of it is what we are going to talk about today. You might be wondering, why are we talking about children's emotions? Part of the things that we are grappling with as employees with our employers is how to take care of children, because children are tomorrow's generation. We are looking at a very vibrant work employment force. So we are not looking at the adults as well, but we are looking at the young people. As we do parenting, we have some of the biggest struggles that we've come face to face in our counseling sessions. Part of them is how to raise children who are well balanced. Okay, and that's why tonight we are going to bring a number of experts to talk to us. Some of them are in your audience. Some of them are with us on the panel this morning who are going to be introduced ably. But it is to share their views, their opinions, their research findings about tips that you can use to grow well-balanced children. As you know, if we are to have a very vibrant workforce tomorrow, we have to take care of it yesterday. And so that's why we are here in your living rooms, in your office, in your workspace to talk about this. It's a very critical subject matter because today, between me and you, you know that we are grappling to raise well-balanced children. We are grappling to see that their future is good. We are grappling to get to understand their emotions. And part of the things we're going to talk about is their emotions, because their emotional intelligence is very important for their future. And so we are calling upon you to take note of everything that you would want us to address. If this time is not enough, we'll always address them beyond this webinar. I would like to thank you so much and wish you all the best of this morning's webinar. I'll take it back to you, Doreen, to take over and wish you the best of this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Helen, for that elaborate background. We are very, very excited and would like, for the outcome for today, at least for all of us, we want to be able to understand children's emotional needs and how to respond to them. And also, secondly, would like to pick lessons, on nurturing skill sets to raise well-balanced children for the future legacy. So I'd like to go straight ahead and introduce our panelists. Today we have two panelists, and just to do them justice, you will allow me to read just a brief bio, of who they are. We have Elizabeth Okello, who is a counseling psychologist, a capacity building specialist. She's a mentor and is currently serving as the president of the Uganda Counseling Association. Elizabeth has experience and training in trauma management, in career counseling, child and adolescent counseling, leadership development, and counselor training. She also serves on the board of trustees as well as a mentor and coach with Inspire Synergy. Elizabeth has a platform for professionals. She's part of a platform for professionals across the globe who support organizations and individuals in mental health, especially for the children. Elizabeth holds a master's in arts in counseling psychology and is currently working with Mildme Uganda and at the Institute of Health Sciences. Elizabeth, you're welcome. I will give her time later to speak to you. But very quickly, I'd also like to introduce Faith Wambui, who is also a counseling psychologist. Faith is an accomplished and creative international development professional with over 15 years of multifaceted experience in teaching and offering psychosocial support and full responsibility for counseling psychology and partner relationships. Faith has experience in psychosocial support, providing psychology counseling to individuals and groups, implementing various types of behavior and counseling therapies in both national and international schools and many other spaces. Faith also supports a number of organizations in their employee wellness and assistance programs. And her biggest goal really is to reduce the adverse effects of stress-related factors in the workplace. Also, Faith is working on her thesis at the moment for her master's in public health. She also has a bachelor's in public health and mental health. She has a higher diploma in counseling and psychology, a certificate in guidance and counseling, and etc. So we have two specialists today who are going to be speaking to us about the topic of understanding children's emotions. Like Helen had told you, in our wellness programs and our employee support assistance programs, the number of issues that will come up over time, and considering that children have been on holiday, children have been on holiday. We've had people call in, people come to seek support on how to handle children. How do you know when a child is acting up or when they have, issues? How do you know if a child is outspoken or if they're just being rude? How can a child, comfortably express themselves, for you to be able to understand them and to be able to pick their issues, whether they are speaking or they are silent. So we want to be able to listen into these people, to be able to tell us how to handle all these things to ensure that we are raising, a balanced generation for the future. So Elizabeth is going to come in straight away to speak to us, first of all, to define who a child is and also to help us understand the needs of the children. Elizabeth, are you ready?
Let's confirm if you can see me.
Elizabeth? Yes, I can see you.
Are you able
to
see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're ready to know who a child is, because we might not exactly know who exactly a child is, to know the children and to understand the needs of those children.
Okay. Thank you so much. And if you will just allow me share my screen, just give me a minute. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, just as I get my screen up, it's a thank you so much and a good afternoon to all of us who are logged on. Just confirm once again that you can hear me. And
yes, we can hear you.
So we're going to, all right, we'll be talking about a very, very key aspect this afternoon, that is understanding children's emotions. And I'll just quickly use or borrow from a lot of our legal documents that tell us who a child is. And in our context, this hour, we'll be looking at those between 0 to 18 years, and that is who a child is. And that is according to our Constitution of Uganda. I know in some other countries it would be 16 or so, but in our Constitution of Uganda, we are looking at somebody who is under the age of 18 years.
And as we look at this child, I would want each one of us to look at this child in a holistic context. And most times when we have to talk about children, I know we don't have or may not have children logged on this call, but each one of us has been a child at one point in time. And even as we reflect on a lot of the things we'll be talking about today, I want us to think about you as a child, you as having been 18 years and below. What was it like for you? What were your needs at that time rather? How were your needs met? I know sometimes when we try to reflect on situations way back, the time when we were children, yes, it could bring up memories, good ones, and also bad memories at some times. Yeah, but I want us to reflect on that as we talk about the children today. And our context really would be that children they have holistic needs. And if you see the illustration here, they do have spiritual needs, they do have social needs, the need to interact with others, they do have physical needs. I know we take them to school, we provide them with food to eat, we ensure they have shelter, they are warm. When they're sick, we take them for medication. They do have mental needs as well. They have yearning to know, to learn. They do have, I mentioned we have spiritual needs, and that is really a sense of feeling of hope, belief in, yes, we do have supernatural beings above us. We do have, we do have a sense of hope in the reason that we live. But today I know we're going to focus a lot on the emotional needs. And why emotions? And why emotions? I just want us to look at this illustration. We have a tree here. I mentioned earlier that we go through experiences in life. And these experiences have, if you picture a tree has roots, it has stems and branches and the like. And most of the experiences, events, situations that we do go through, we could treat them as roots. And as a result of experiences, situations that we go through, you may find that we are likely to experience them differently, one from another. For some of us, the experiences take a different turn. For others, it might be a different turn. So these experiences that we go through cause us to react in different ways. And the way we react may vary. It might we might begin to experience certain feelings or certain bodily reactions that eventually manifest in our emotional reactions. So emotions would be what happens as a result of our events and experiences that we go through. And I always encourage people I interact with that let's learn to name these emotions. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling now? I feel angry. I feel happy. I am guilty. And the more we identify the name, we call them by name, the more we begin to understand what they are and what they're doing to us as individuals. So to answer what are emotions, those are reactions that manifest as a result of events or experiences or situations that we go through. This tree illustration, we can even use it with our children, and they could, children like activity, so they could actually construct a tree and use the tree to be able to help them name their emotions in one way or another. Yes, so why is it important that we talk about emotional health of a child? In our the earlier illustration, I said that emotional health is part of our mental health. It's part of our holistic development of a child. And so when we look at it holistically, the emotions play a very important part of the general well-being of a child. How does a child handle stress? How do they relate with others? How do they make healthy choices in life? The focus of the age we are looking at, childhood, adolescence, those are critical times for mental, cognitive, or physical development. When you read, we're told that the development of the brain continues for a stretch up to almost to the early 20s. And so before that time, there's a whole process of a child and adolescent trying to learn to think logically, trying to reason, trying to understand what is happening to them, trying to make critical decisions, all because the brain is developing and it continues from the time they are born until the early 20s. That's when you find that they are able to get to a point where they can fully make logical decisions, but the process continues up to about that time. So the childhood adolescence period is a critical time because of such reasons, and that's why it's important that we talk about the emotional health of this child, and especially for this age group that we are talking about today. It's good for us to know that children do struggle with mental health issues. World Health Organization reveals that over 10 to 20% of the children globally suffer from mental health problems. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have about 1 in 7. And when we look at the common occurrences, we have anxiety, we have depression. Prevalence does vary. And when you look at the anxiety and depression, normally we get manifestations of feelings of sadness, feeling lonely, lack of interest in activities. Some of the children may feel like, I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't like the school. I just want to change school. And the way to manifest in certain expressions. Some of them begin to feel insecure. A lot of those are associated with the common disorders that we find in children, that are anxiety, depression. And by the time they get to that point, they have manifested over a period of time. And that's why learning about it now, monitoring signs over time is helpful so that we can curb a lot of these before they get into disorders. You find that many of them actually resort to unhealthy practices, and the statistics tell us it's quite common, especially the early adolescence period. They resort to suicide tendencies, substance abuse. Last week, we were listening to a report by Ministry of Health, and this report, I think, came out also in the Daily Monitor about last year. If you saw in the media, we had quite a number of suicide cases among school-going children following the resumption of school after COVID, after a long period of lockdown, which Uganda experienced the longest. And yes, substance abuse, social media comes in and fuels a lot of these. In the schools, we know that the substances are being infiltrated into the schools. And what do the studies show? That when we enhance family relationships, this is very key in addressing depression among children. So it's good for us to know that, even to appreciate the fact that talking about it now is very key. Thank you so much, Doreen.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. A few takeaways from your discussion. You told us to think about the needs that we had as children, to be able to understand the needs that these children have. You talked about naming the emotions, to encourage our children to name the emotions. If you ask them how they are, they should be able to describe, using emotions, to describe their states of affairs. You also told us to monitor the signs, because unless we are monitoring the signs and seeing how they are acting, then we will definitely not be able to identify them. Also, you talked about enhancing family relationships. I think we'll want to talk more about that, because we may want to break it down for us. But very quickly, Faith would like to come in and talk to us about the critical emotional needs of a child. Faith, over to you. Faith, are you there? As we wait for Faith, please be reminded that if you have a question, please drop it in the chat. We'll have a few minutes at the end to be able to discuss, the questions that have come in. Faith and Elizabeth are both professionals, senior professionals, and they're here to demystify some of the things, we have thought in the past. So I see Faith is there. Faith, give me a sign to know that you're ready, and I'll hand over to you.
Yes, I am ready, Doreen. Good afternoon.
Please talk to us. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. That was very, very insightful. And as children grow, they are trying to look for appropriate language to share what they are feeling. And I appreciate the fact that Elizabeth mentioned naming the feeling makes it really worth being able to go through what they are feeling at that particular moment. I would like to look at the critical emotional needs that children really require as they grow, because as they express their emotions, it's about something they want to communicate. They need love, they need warmth, and they need affection. So if they don't have love, warmth, and affection, there is emotional distress. They will try to communicate in ways sometimes not very pleasant to show a lacking of the love, warmth, and affection. They need attention as they grow. And this is children of all ages, as Elizabeth has said. It's from a very young age up to 18, and their socio-emotional development goes up to way in their early 20s. So no matter how grown they are, they still need our attention. They need to set boundaries. And when they are a lot younger, because of the lack of expressiveness of how best they can express what they feel, most probably they will cry, they will throw tantrums, they will act out. But as they grow older, they want to try and see how far can they stretch, because they are seeking autonomy, especially in early adolescent years, in early pubertal years. They are trying to see, to be themselves away from you. They want to be themselves. And it is at this age of life where they are likely to want to be more like their peers, learn a lot from their peers. And in the process of doing this, they are trying to navigate how best they know how. And as Elizabeth mentioned, that's when they find themselves occasionally in trouble, because they are trying to express themselves in the best way they know how. So as parents, as guardians, our role is to create safe boundaries to ensure what is well for them and what is really not well for them. And at this age too, as they seek autonomy, they want to see how far can they stretch. When they don't have safe boundaries, distress sets in, and they are trying other things to make them feel safe. Self-esteem and confidence in their abilities, we need to validate them. And this is very, very important, because if they are not well-grounded, their self-esteem and confidence is not built up well. We need to be their greatest cheerleaders. We need to be there to cheer them on, even when it is not at their best. We really need to go through it with them to build confidence. When they know that someone has their back, it gives them a lot of strength as they navigate through these challenges of growth. Empathy and understanding. We may not always understand what it is they are going through, but we need to be present with them. We need to meet them at their point, especially when they are in their early puberty years, they are teenagers, and even at a younger age. As Elizabeth said, name the feeling. How do you feel? I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel frustrated, and we should mirror this from our very own experiences. Naming our feelings is the best way how to help them learn how to name and acknowledge how they feel, and communicate the same. We understand. I understand you're angry. I understand you feel sad. I understand you are frustrated that we didn't go for swimming today because it rained. So communicating with empathy and understanding allows them feel safe and have a safe space to navigate through their emotional needs. They also need a sense of security, knowing that you are always there. No matter how busy it gets, they need that assurance. I'd wish to say that as it gets very busy, sometimes it feels like we are delegating parental duties. Please, no matter how busy it gets, let them know we are there for them. Let them not be in school not knowing whether we are going to visit, whether we are not going to visit, even when it gets very busy. Let them have the assurance that we are there with them and working with them every step of the way. Effective communication is also a great emotional need. Because as I said, some bit of acting out is because they are not able to label the emotion. They are not able to say quite exactly what they feel. But when we have built a language, in effective communication in a way that is able to explain, bring out what it is they are feeling, it gives them a lot more of confidence. A sense of independence, especially in late adolescence. Now, this becomes a real big issue and a point of conflict with children as they become adolescent and progress through adolescence and early adulthood, because they want to be independent away from you. Sometimes as parents, we are really so overprotective and we deny them the opportunity. It is important to give them responsibilities that are age appropriate, independence that is age appropriate, and freedom with responsibility. I'd also want to say that giving them unconditional love in all this as they grow allows them know that someone has their back. And to sum up, I'd want to say that, in short, in all this, they want to feel respected, they want to feel important, they want to feel accepted, they want to feel included and secure. Thank you very much. I would ask Elizabeth to join in and say something about
Thank you
this.
so much. Thank you so much, Faith, for that explanation, on how to, on the critical emotional needs of the children. You talked about a few things that I'd like to emphasize for the sake of, listeners today. You talked about love, warmth and affection. You talked about attention. You talked about safe boundaries. You said we should validate our children. You also said we should be their cheerleaders, whether they are doing good or they are not doing the good that we want. They are not yet there where we want them to be. We should be their cheerleaders. You talked about empathy and understanding. You talked about security. And then you talked about effective communication and independence. When you're talking to an African parent and you're telling them that their children should be independent, sometimes there's a bitter taste, in the mouth. Some of these children will put notes on their rooms at a certain age. Do not come in without knocking. I want my privacy. And sometimes these things don't go down well with us. So those are things we want to talk about today. When Elizabeth earlier talked about enhancing family relationships, I know that a number of us are parents, caretakers, guardians, have different dynamics. Probably you're parenting as a single mother. Probably it's a grandmother taking care of the child. Probably it's an auntie or somebody that has adopted the family. I had somebody talk about something. It sounded a bit controversial, but I know Elizabeth will shed more light. They said children do not exactly need a father and a mother, in the home. What they need is a secure and loving environment, regardless of who is giving that secure and loving environment. So don't listen in today and you're thinking, oh, I am a single mother, so I might not be able to tick the box of all the things they're talking about. Don't think that your child is being raised by a grandmother and probably is missing out on certain things. Children don't exactly need, a father and mother, because a father and mother could be there and they're not exactly, emotionally present and physically present. So let's all remember that children need a safe and loving environment. Elizabeth would like to dig deeper about the importance of parent-child connection, because you alluded to it. Please tell us more about it.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Actually, while you were talking, I even remember that there's some families that are actually headed by siblings, and the siblings do provide that. While you were talking, I was reminded. Yeah, thank you so much, Doreen. Thank you, Faith, for sharing with us those critical emotions. Yes, this connection. We're looking at an illustration that looks something like a seesaw, which means that some kind of balance has to be attained, and this balance requires some kind of connection. This kind of connection we kind of is built over time as we engage. But what is critical is it's important that the caregiver is interested in what is going on in the children's lives. How do they feel about it? How is it manifesting? Are they starting to withdraw? Are they starting to become a little bit more careful? The kind of words they are using? What is it that they actually need? What is it that you can do to provide it? Those are key questions which are good for us to reflect in our daily experience with the child. By the time we get to a point of what is it that they need and what is it that I can do to provide it, we are kind of trying to strike a balance. We're trying to strike a balance. And this cannot be achieved it requires you to be present. Are you present in their lives? Are you listening to what they're actually saying? They're not going to shout loud. They're going to imply, they will say it in their different kind of language, but are you listening? Are you present? Or you are physically there, but you're not there? Are you trying to understand? How we try to understand, we clarify, try to clarify, ask. How are you communicating that you care? I think Goldman talks about turning towards. The aspect of turning towards requires you to be here and listen. Be present. Try to understand and communicate that you care. The seesaw will balance at the point where the child is feeling that, yes, I am heard. I feel you have listened to me. You actually understand what I need, you know. And it's not about I need, give, I need, give. It's about do they actually need it? And this may not necessarily be something physical. It could be physical. It could be just being there. It could even be helping them make the right connections, and all that requires a power of being intentional about it. Sometimes it conflicts with our schedules, but we kind of need to make it intentional. So how are you being intentional? I have an illustration here about beads. If you can read a little bit more about Gottman. Gottman talks a lot about beading. And I think the closest is a tennis game, a tennis match. So while one person is passing a bat to the other, they are calling out for attention, calling out for affection, calling out for acceptance. And this is seen in our conversations. Good morning. How was your night? Sometimes we're in a hurry and you say, please dress up quickly. We need to get moving. I am late. We are getting into traffic. Now, it's as good as someone throwing the ball over and you let it miss. That is how it feels. And so when we respond, it was fine. How about yours? It's as equivalent as hitting back. And you know that if you enjoy a tennis match, you will enjoy the fact that your opponent is responding affectionately, responding alike, you know, and that is very helpful. Those are bits. At what time are you coming back home? Last night, I normally know my children go to have dinner at about 6:30. At about 6, I was still in a traffic jam, and my daughter called and said, "How far are you?" I said, I gave her the location where I was, and I said, "But I'm in a traffic jam and it's really heavy." And she said, "About how long will you take to get back home?" I said, "Maybe about 20 minutes. By the time I got back home, they had served her food, but she wasn't eating. And I kept wondering, so did it have to be that she needed me to be there to sit with her, to eat, you know? So what I quickly sensed is maybe this is what she needed. So I asked her, "How come you haven't eaten?" She said, "I was waiting for you." So I said, okay, let's do it together. I got my plate and she put aside what she was doing and she sat and she had her dinner. And I mean, that is what Gottman talks about. Are we sensitive enough to pay attention to those needs and attempt to get attention, affection, or acceptance? I think I would leave it at that. And maybe we could talk a little bit more about some practical strategies. Doreen, I think over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I think my takeaway is the 3 A's that you've talked about: attention, affection, acceptance. Like I said, if you're talking to an African parent and you're asking them to they seem like, you know what, I'm being answerable to my child. You know, we want to storm out of the home and not tell the children where we are going. We want to storm out of the home and not tell them, you know, what time we are coming back. But you seem to say all these are very important, you know, if our children are to feel safe. But I think also at the back of our minds, it's important to remember that these are children who have a mind of their own, who also have emotions, who are part of the home. So if when they're leaving home, you know where they're going, or they'll tell you, I'm going to the shop or something, and, you know, I think they're wondering, mommy is just storming out, you know, and I don't know where she's going. I don't know what time she's coming back. So it's important to be able to manage the expectations, have very clear communication with them. Let them know you're going to work. Let them know you're going for a salon, you know, meeting. Let them know you're going somewhere. Tell them when you think you'll come back. At least let them feel like they are part of the home. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I see your questions are many. We will take care of them, but would like to hear from Faith before we get into the Q&A. Faith wants to come and give us some practical strategies to nurture health, family culture, and emotional regulation. Faith, over to you.
Thank you very much, Doreen. Thank you, Elizabeth. Being present, being consistent. Yeah, as you said, children just need to know that their parents are there for them, they love them, the reassurance that people have their back. I want to look at the parental nurturing strategies as they navigate through their emotions. Modeling healthy coping skills. And this comes from us. If we don't want them to raise their voice, then how are we communicating? You don't shout at people, you don't raise your voice at people, you don't disrespect people, you don't manage your anger well and require them to do it. They learn a lot more from how we deal with our emotions. If we are angry and we are not handling our anger, we are not handling our frustration really well, then we are not modeling the right emotional management. So when we model healthy coping skills and healthy coping skills for kids, we could allow them channel their anger, channel their frustration in healthy ways. Several ways depending on each age group. They could possibly read a book, they could possibly draw. It allows them express in non-violent ways. They could also journal, and this is all right even for us as adults and even as they grow, writing how they feel. I feel frustrated, I feel angry, I feel fearful. So when we model healthy coping skills and allow them be able to channel their negative emotions in healthy ways and even positive emotions. Sometimes we are so excited and it will bring us to a point of tears. So genuinely acknowledging what we feel and expressing it without hindrance. And if they are negative emotions, then allowing them to express them in healthy ways. Watch for behavior changes. As Elizabeth said, being present, you know, you can hear it even when they don't say anything. You can see how their behaviors are changing. Even at a younger age, when they are still learning how to be expressive about how they feel, watch for behavior changes. And as they grow older, their behavior keeps changing more and more because of the hormonal changes they are going through. They change in the way they feel and the way they look. And sometimes the little loving, happy child becomes a bit withdrawn. They want to spend more time in their rooms. As we talk of boundaries, they have stickers. Please do not enter before you knock. Do not disturb. As Doreen says, in our African setup, it may not have been very acceptable, but when we look at accepting boundaries, creating boundaries, we allow them create the boundaries, create the safe rules, create safe space to be able to express how they feel. But as we talk of watching for behavior change, sometimes it becomes very extreme when they are not able to channel their emotions in the right way. It could get to a lot of silence, a lot of withdrawal, a lot of depression setting in, sometimes self-harming behavior. So we need to be there, we need to be present, we need to know what is happening in their lives. And I'd wish to note that sometimes when behavior is not manageable at the home level, I wish to say that it is not a sign of weakness as a parent. You are not doing wrong. You have done your best. It is okay to seek for help. If behavior changes become really challenging and are not manageable at the home level, sometimes it is all right. And it is okay for us to acknowledge that we need help. And we are all good parents. It does not mean you're failing as a parent because you're seeking help for your child. But keeping communication open and honest, a very good example is just what Elizabeth has shared. We need to know where you are at what time. And this is two-way. Just as they expect to know where you are, what time are you coming from work, is the same thing. For them to be away, you need to know where they are, who they are with, what time they are coming back, and with a lot of honesty. So that ensures a relationship of openness, a relationship of honesty, and it also creates trust, because how we deal with them, with our children as they grow, determines how emotionally healthy adults they become, how well they are able to regulate their emotions as they become adults. Let's create a routine with clear boundaries. Creating a routine, and I want to add the word consistent, creating a consistent routine. And this is all about even the home rules, the family culture. For example, meal times. If it's a family culture that we all have meal times at the dinner table, then we should have consistent rules and consistent routines that create clear boundaries. Why consistency? Children know they can get away when one parent will say yes and the other will say no. When one guardian will say yes, the other will say no. They are able to, especially when they are becoming adolescents and young adults, they are able to know where it is to push the boundaries. So it is nice for us to have consistent rules, create routines that work for the family, and with clear boundaries. And it is always nice, let them know they are loved. And not just by actions, speak it out. Let them know you love them. Let them know you value them. And sometimes when we have differently able children, we have children with different abilities, we have children who are more excellent in other fields, we need to be impartial in how we treat them. Let's not compare them with their siblings who are doing better, for example, academically, in sports activities, in outdoor activities. Let them know they are all loved unconditionally. And this we need to verbalize. Physical touch is a way to let them feel close and know that they are really loved. Don't just be too busy and because you have provided fees, you have provided basic needs, and interpret that just as love. Let them know you love them, tell them you love them, assure them you love them, be there for them, and provide feedback and encouragement. When they do well, it is nice. And even when they are not doing so well, have short contingency contracts. Just tell them it wasn't very nice this time, it would be better, you have done well, provide feedback and encouragement. Be their cheerleader, be there for them, walk through it with them. Don't just let them walk alone. And encourage joyful behavior and play. And encouraging joyful behavior, be part of the play, probably. You could say one of the evenings you're going to do a board game, you're going to have a game with them, you're going to be part of their childhood. Don't let them just go it alone. And they really, those are memories as they grow that don't depart from them. If you're sharing in their activities, if you're sharing in their playtime, if you're sharing in their joyful behavior, and this is a way also of positive way in dealing with their emotions, and knowing that you're there for them. You can be there with them to play with them. You can be there with them to enjoy their level of play is something very fruitful and satisfying for them. Allow them to be part of the decision-making process. Involve them. Let them feel involved. Let them not feel left out. Let them know that they have a part to play in the decisions that are being made at the family level, at the home level. Let them be included in the decision-making level. And this not only allows them feel positively about their emotions, it also gives them, opportunity to be able to make decisions as they grow. It also gives them a sense of responsibility, and it makes them feel better knowing that they are part of the process. And to sum up, I repeat, seeking professional help is not a sign of weakness. When help is needed, please do. It's a sign of strength. It does not mean you're a bad parent. It means you're a good parent. You're just seeking for strength to move on the parental journey. Thank you very much. Back to you, Doreen.
Thank you so much, Faith, for those strategies to deal with our children. I think my takeaway from what Faith has shared is that parenting requires skill. Parenting requires skill. I know that in the past we've said that some things come naturally. We've talked about, we've relied on parental instinct. We've talked about a number of things. But, we are not raising children of 50 years ago. A number of things have changed. There's been a shift. Our children are more in tune with their emotions. Our children can express themselves, unlike the children, maybe 50 years ago or 20 years ago. So how are we able to manage that? So for me, my takeaway from what Faith said is parenting requires skill. And if you're listening to these conversations here and you're wondering, maybe you're in an organization and you need support, for your child, please reach out to us at hope@minet.co.ug. hope@minet.co.ug. If you're unable to send an email and you'd like to call us, please give us a call. Our wellness coordinator will be able to speak to you on 0703-750-519. You'll speak to Helen, who is a wellness coordinator, and she'll be able to support you. Also, just to remind you, if you have an employee assistance program at your workplace, it is not just limited to you, because we are aware that you are surrounded. It will not just support you, but it will support your spouse, it will support your children, it will support your parents, all the people that you are living with, because we know that the things that affect you sometimes are not just things within, sometimes they are created by the environment that you are in. So reach out to us at hope@minet.co.ug. The panelists we have today, we partner with them to offer wellness solutions to a number of clients. So you'll get a chance to speak to Elizabeth, you'll get a chance to speak to Faith, and like Faith has said, seek professional help. We have the professionals who are there to help you. Thank you so much, Faith and Elizabeth. There are a number of questions that have come in, and I'd like to read a few questions. We'll have Elizabeth answer some of them. Both Faith and Elizabeth are psychologists who are experienced in dealing with children and adolescents, so they can handle all our questions today. I will ask Elizabeth to handle the questions that came in first. I will read about 3. I know she has the tact to be able to respond to all of them. Joseph is asking, he has a girl who is 10 years, who is very reserved at speaking out. How can he help her to speak out? Somebody who is very reserved. And on the other side, there's somebody saying, please advise how one can help a girl who loves disagreements, aggressive approaches to seek a solution. She's always fighting with fellow children. and doesn't listen to parents and loves controlling fellow children. There is also a similar one that says that what about a child who gets angry and wants to fight the mom or dad if he or she doesn't get what they want? We'll have Elizabeth talk into that, and then we'll read a few questions for Faith to answer. Elizabeth, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let me start with the last one about a child insisting I need to get what I want. And I think I'll make reference to what we talked about, the bidding. By the way, the bidding is not only about positive demands. There will be even a negative demand, like someone beating or shouting at a parent to get attention. That is a bid. The child is calling for attention to what they're saying, and responding to that bid can also be done not by you. Okay, it can be done by you negatively reinforcing that behavior. It does not mean that because she's fighting back, I am responding by giving what she wants, but try to tune in and find out, what is she trying to say in this kind of behavior? What is she trying to communicate? Also, it's important to try to check who does the child associate with more often. Sometimes the people who we leave the children with at home manifest or engage with them aggressively, and that's how they pick aggressive behavior. I know I have seen that in one of my own children, and I discovered that that's where it was coming from. They attempt to connect, and the person responds aggressively, so they kind of get to learn that that is how they should respond to be able to get what they want. And so trying to tune in a little bit more. There could be something more to that than just shouting or trying to fight. They could be something they have learned over time, either at home, or it could be at school, or in one of them, in any of the other environments. And saying it back to them, helping them to name, just like we said, name their emotions. You seem to be angry. I know you need this, but you seem to be angry. Can we talk about it? And drawing them to have a discussion about what's going through is very helpful. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I think I could shed light in that direction, trying to turn more towards and trying to find out what is going on. A child, someone who mentioned a child who loves disagreements and is always fighting their siblings. I think that would be related to what I have mentioned. The social health is also important for a child. They need to learn to interact with others. How do we teach them? If you are with a child in a social situation, when you notice that we need to display the right behavior, we are the sole models. How are we engaging with others? Sometimes they learn these behaviors from the way we relate with others. I don't know if you have seen some adults shout at each other and come and want to embrace the child. And sometimes they have actually seen what's going on. And so modeling it, and I'm not saying that could be what is happening, but I'm saying that they could have seen it from somewhere else. And they learn that is how it is done. If we have teachers on the call, how are we doing it in the schools? Sometimes you go to a school setting, the teacher is by their desk and minding their computers and business, and the children are fighting in the classroom. That would be a good time to teach them how to relate with one another. It is possible. Children can learn how to build positive social relations. And maybe lastly, about the child who is being reserved, we just need to learn, how is that their character all the time? Has it just happened all of a sudden? If that's not how it has been, where could have been the boundary? Could there have been something that has happened? Some children are naturally quiet or reserved, and that's them. And sometimes, so if you notice the trend and it is something that has happened all of a sudden and it hasn't been, then maybe we trace back what could have happened. If it is their natural character, let's accept it as that. Let's take them as that. She's reserved, and it doesn't mean that they don't go out and talk to people, but maybe that's their character, and we love them the same that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. If we are shouting at neighbors and we are shouting at the caretakers of our children, and we expect our children to be polite, the joke is on us. The joke is on us. So Elizabeth alluded to the fact that children are always saying, and most times they will model, what we are doing. Faith, I hope you're there. I'd like to read to you a few questions. Okay, James is asking how, Faith, I'll read 2 questions. How would mothers handle the children's feelings who are denied by their fathers completely, or fathers do not deny fatherhood, but do not interact with their children or support them in any way, even if their fathers are rich? Similarly, there is somebody who talked about single parenting. Okay, they said there's a lot of emotional stress on single parents, which leads to anger, frustration, and so much more. How can one manage this? Somebody's stressed about single parenting, and then there's somebody who is talking about children being denied by their fathers. Sometimes they're not denying them, but they acknowledge them, yet they do absolutely nothing. How can somebody navigate that, Faith? We need your help.
Thank you very much. Maybe I would begin with looking at the emotional stress single parents are going through. Certainly, the emotional distress is not only it's broader than is, having the responsibility of taking care of your child alone. And sometimes it comes with financial obligations, it comes with work responsibility. So I think it's I feel it's best as a parent to acknowledge first. Acknowledging there is emotional stress is healthy enough to be able to deal with it. If you feel you're not very well regulated, look for best ways possible to self-care. You could check in for therapy. You could look for social support systems to enable you to be very grounded, because you don't want to raise them in anger, you don't want to raise them in frustration, because how they grow and how well emotionally regulated they are is so much about the environment they grow in. So when we feel overwhelmed as parents, it's always very positive to acknowledge we are struggling. And it's not our fault, it's not your fault, you're doing your best, you need help. Look for ways to self-care and self-regulate. When you are well-grounded, you are a better parent. On denial of fathers, especially who are absent in the children's life, I'd want to say that when the children have the attention, affection, and acceptance, it is sufficient to help them navigate. So there's still a vacuum, there is a gap sometimes when they get to school. And I think we have not got to a point where our institutions do not demand to know. They will fill in documents and they will ask father's name, father's details. And as children, they are talking, where is your father? Who is your father? So all of this in some situations create an element of distress. What I would want to say is, no matter what is going through between the father and the mother, try as much as possible not to label the other parent negative. If the other parent, the absent parent, is not present in the child's life, try and do your best, because sometimes when we are trying to force situations, it becomes worse. It becomes very emotionally draining, very emotionally distressful. But as you go through the rifts, as you go through whatever it is that has made you not be together, please do not label the other parent negatively, because at the end of the day, now the child grows with a lot of resentment towards the other. Do your best, offer them attention, offer them affection, offer them acceptance, be there for them, and remind them it is not their fault. And lastly, it was about children going to school. How do they deal with the anxiety? It is important to know what is this that is causing them anxiety. Sometimes if the child mentions they are not happy in their class, please find out, why are they not happy in their class? Is there bullying going on? Is it about the teacher? Is it about the classmates? Is it about And even at a very younger age, when a child says, Mommy, I don't want to go to school, Mommy, I want to stay home, please find out why. Do not just say it's because they really don't want to go to school. There could be a reason behind it. Just in the same way, when they say they don't want to remain home with a caretaker, find out. And all this is about presence. When you're present for them, you will hear them, even when they don't bring out what it is that is distressing them. If there's really not anything specific that is distressing them from school, then maybe there could be grounding ways as they settle for school. Have routines, maybe pack a few days before school if they are going to a boarding school, prepare them psychologically, let them know next Monday is a school day. So by Friday, we should have completed our packing. By Thursday, we should have completed all our assignments. So there's a mental preparation, so it doesn't have to be a one weekend emotional drain. We are packing, we are completing homework, we are checking things. It sometimes gets very overwhelming. So when there's a pre-planned routine to prepare going back to school, whether they are in day school, whether they are in boarding school, it allows them vent out whatever anxious moments they are. And it is, again, okay to check in. How do you feel? We are reporting to school on Monday. Thank you. Back to you, Doreen. I hope I answered that.
Thank you so much. Yes, you actually did answer the question, but you talked about something. If a child says they do not want to go to school, I might not be sure if it's for their reasons or their excuses. So I'd like you to talk into this. There's somebody who is asking, how do you strike a balance between giving a child a sense of security, empathy, and understanding while building resilience? In particularly challenging situations, e.g. bullying, being left out, which they term as rejection, both in the early years, e.g. at 6 years of age, and also in adolescence. How do we strike that balance between giving them a sense of security and also building resilience?
Thank you very much, Doreen. And as we said, when we are able to label what it is quite they are feeling, they are able to identify in the real time of what they are experiencing. How do you feel? I feel left out. Yeah. And why do you feel left out? My friends have formed a team they are playing, and I am not included in the team. Then we also need maybe to build on their assertive skills. It is not a one-day journey. It is a process by process that we keep building on from a tender age as they develop. As we remember, Elizabeth said, they are still developing an emotional health develops up to way into their 20s. So as we are looking to build resilience, it is also nice, very positively, to allow them develop skills that are age appropriate. And when we hear them, we are able to listen. Let us not brush away whatever they want to share with us. If we really listen, we can hear it, even if it doesn't come out verbally. So it is important to empower them with assertive skills, and as we are talking assertion, something else maybe I'd also want to add is them being able to be able to make decisions that are age appropriate, to say yes to what is right for their age, to say no to what is not right for their age, and be able to communicate the same to you or the other significant adults that are in their life. Thank you, Doreen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Faith. We are coming towards the end of our webinar today. Thank you so much, Faith and Elizabeth. I will go to Elizabeth to ask her to give parting shots. But before that, I'd like to remind you, if you are listening in today, there's somebody who was asking, do you organize sessions for children and do you meet them? Do you have online sessions for children, and when and how can we know? Like we said, please write to us at hope@minet.co.ug or call us on 0703. We've written the number in the chat, but just to read it to you, 0703 750 519. Minet is here not just to secure tomorrow. We'll just not just secure tomorrow, but by offering risk advisory, but we'll also offer human capital solutions. We'd like to focus especially on our employee assistance programs. And like I had said earlier, they are not limited to just you. So if you are listening here and you have an organization of people or as an individual and you like support, please ask your CEO, ask your MD, ask your HR to consider this, because we know that you cannot fully show up at 100% if you have things that are holding you back. And we are able to give you that support through our wellness solution. Sometimes you want us to speak to your child with you there or without. You'd like an online, an online counseling session or a physical session. We're able to provide all that. And Helen, our wellness coordinator, will be ready to answer all your solutions. Please, to answer all your questions, please call her or send us an email. Thank you so much for the audience. Thank you so much for engaging with us. We'd like to appreciate Elizabeth and Faith for pouring into us. But please remember to seek for professional help. Remember, parenting requires skill, and we are here to acquire those skills. So I'd like to invite Elizabeth to give her parting shots, and then we'll also ask Faith to give her parting shots, and then we will close. Elizabeth, over to you.
Thank you, Doreen. If you'll allow me just make one short comment. I've seen Brian post something, yes, and I was smiling because I exactly wanted to mention something like that, but because of time, there are two words that Brian puts in his text, stubborn and chejo. And he says that how do we handle such children? I had a scenario when I took a child back to school on Monday, and someone said, these children are so stubborn. They have chejo. You people bring them up with chejo and things like that. Earlier, we started by saying, let's name the emotions. Stubborn, what is it about stubborn? How is the child feeling? What is the child doing? How is it manifesting? And let's not hide behind the stubborn and the chejo, or what we call the spoiled child. What is that spoiled child manifesting? If we don't name that behavior, we will not be able to deal with it. I think I just wanted to make that comment. My parting shots. We are learning every day. I am learning. As you were talking, as Faith was talking about teaching skills, right? I could say I am practicing those skills. I know I have taught one of my children how to manage anger, and I am still learning over time. So we are all learning, and we never get out of this school. We are parents. We signed up as parents, and we have children to take care of, whether you're biological. We have them in our village. So we are raising the children, even those in our neighborhoods. So let's be intentional about what we do. We have those in your house. They're children you meet as you walk by the road. Don't ignore them and think these are not my own. Let everyone sort themselves out. They are all our children. Tomorrow your child will encounter that child who we are not minding. So let's take a collective responsibility for this generation. It's never too late. We can start from anywhere. Seek help. Professionals are there to help, and reach out. It will just involve getting an engagement to talk with your child. The teachers, it's helpful to also seek help. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. I personally go to school and help the teachers understand who my child is, and they've appreciated it. So take a moment. Sometimes the children are so many, and you just go on and say, this is my child. This is how they behave. This is how they react under certain circumstances, to give them context. And have a good afternoon. Thank you so much, Minet. Thank you so much, our audience, for tuning in. And look forward to engaging a lot more on a lot more other forums. Thank you so much, and a good afternoon.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is parting shots. Let's keep learning. Let's be open to learning, and let's keep learning. Over to you, Faith.
Thank you very much, Doreen. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and our audience. I'd like to say parenting is a full-time job that we do even as they grow. It doesn't stop. It's a continuous journey, a continuous learning journey, and it's the only thing we do once. The moment a phase escapes us, we are not able to rewind. We are not able to move back. Let us give our every best. And I want to say all of us are good parents. We just need to keep learning in this continuous journey, and we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Faith, and thank you for affirming us that we are good parents. Thank you so much. Thanks, Elizabeth and Faith. It was very insightful. It was very, very insightful. I know a number of us would have wanted to be here much longer, but unfortunately it was just 1 hour and would like to stick to that. Thank you so much. Like I said, we'll be running monthly webinars, so please look out for our next webinar. We'll most probably be talking about nutrition. We've talked about work-life balance. We've talked about burnout. Today we're talking about understanding children's emotional health. And usually when we interact with people in our employee assistance programs, in our wellness sessions, we know certain issues that keep coming up, and those are the issues that we will address. So next month, we're talking about nutrition, and we'll have a topic that we'll address every month, up to the end of the year and thereafter. So look out. I would like to appreciate you so, so much. See you next month. Thank you so much and have a lovely afternoon. Bye.